Welcome to this video tutorial on using Smart Chips in Google Docs. Smart Chips allow users to add links to things like documents, images, tables, tagging people, calendars. And so the way to access Smart Chips is simply by anywhere in the Google Doc where you want to insert a Smart Chip. You'll type the @ symbol, and then it brings up automatically a list of things that you can do. So you'll see here the first item is people. So you can actually tag specific people in your Google Doc. Any recently used are there, but I can also expand the menu for more options, or I could start typing, for example, like someone's name, and any of my contacts that are there would appear. Other Smart Chip options outside of people then are dates, so you can insert specific dates for basically just setting like a deadline or some type of calendar option to do that. You have specific times. You can also do things like stopwatch and timer. These are pretty useful if you're collaborating on a document live or maybe in class with everyone. I could set a timer, and I can simply type in whatever I want and hit start, and that timer would start. I can also do a stopwatch. Stopwatch is just effectively a count up. Okay, and I can click on that stopwatch and it starts counting up, whereas the timer counts down. I can also assign tasks. So I'll hit a task and we'll call let's say, edit presentation. Then I can assign that task to a specific person. Let's say I want to assign it to a specific student or person. There I can do that on those tasks, and it creates that task for that person. And I can set a deadline. Maybe I want to do this here, and I can assign it. That person will receive an email, and it'll appear in a task list if people use those. So I can do that task. When that task is done, you see the icon. I can check that off then if and when that task is done, and I can create additional task lists for that person. Other options for those, I can also insert things like drop-down menus, voting chips. The files is one that's used quite a bit. I can actually insert a direct link to a file. So for example, if I want to do a direct link to this spreadsheet that I have, I'll insert this here, and it inserts it effectively as a clickable link. Notice here when it says some collaborators need access and share, whatever the current permissions are of this file, those maintain those. So for example, you'll see up here, I'll show you, I've shared this with a personal Gmail account. If I flip over to that screen and I see this doc that I've shared, if I try to access that, you'll see that I don't have access to this file because it's not shared, or its viewing permissions are not anyone with the link can view. So when you insert those Smart Chips or those file Smart Chips, the viewing permissions remain as they are. So you would need to change the sharing permissions of those. The same thing would be true if they are viewable. If I expand this and I went in here and I picked one of these that would be viewable already, they will be viewable that way as well. I can also start typing and I can get anything that's named or has those very similar to searching in Google Drive. Other options, lastly, would be like a voting chip. Voting chips are cool. You can put these in, and then people can come in. Let's say I do like a thumbs up. Then anybody can come in, and then they can vote on whether they like that idea, or maybe you're doing some sort of bulleted list and we're trying to gather feedback on good, bad. You can do little voting chips, and people can come in and they can vote on there. You can also hover and you can see who voted which way with those voting tips, excuse me. The last thing is some sort of a drop down. You can actually create a drop down. There are some pre-made preset drop downs here about like status of projects, but you can actually come in here and you can create your own drop down where you can color, you can name it, color it, and then give the options there. So for example, I had a drop down that's made already. I just called test, and you can see I did like a yes, no, maybe. Went in here and I can insert that, and then I can go in here and I can change. I can use that over and over again. So that's a pretty useful feature in Google Docs as well. I've seen that used for things like Mad Libs or different things where kids choose different options, or maybe we're doing it inside of a table itself. You can use those. So those are just some different smart chip options. You can think about how you might want to use those in your classroom.